Hey Swashbucklers, today's show is sponsored by Southern Yellow Pine Publishing, home of author S.R. Staley's Pirate of Panther Bay book series. It's this great story about an escaped slave girl named Isabella who commands a huge pirate crew against the Spanish authorities. It's a really great story. Go check it out at underthecrossbones.com/panther. Raise the sails! Turn it up, Swashbucklers. You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 27. My name is Phil Johnson. I am your host for the show. It's a pleasure to be here. Hey, fun fact, 27 bones in the human hand. That's the number, yes. So thank you for using the bones, the 27 of them in your human hand, for pressing play on this episode. I absolutely appreciate that a whole bunch. We've got a ton of new listeners over the last week, and welcome to you wherever you're listening, in your car, while you're jogging, while you should be doing something else more productive at work. Thank you for listening. If you're not subscribed yet, officially, go to your favorite podcatcher and look up Under the Crossbones, or go to iTunes, or go to Stitcher, or go to wherever you get podcasts, put it Under the Crossbones, and hit that subscribe link so that you can keep track, and then you get every episode downloaded automatically every week. It's super easy. You guys, I am so excited about the guest I have on the show today. His name is John Chatterton, and he is a wreck diver and treasure hunter. All right. Now, if you've read the book Pirate Hunters by Robert Kurson, you know who John Chatterton is. He was one of the guys that found the Golden Fleece, which is an actual pirate ship that they dug up out of the water. Only the second one ever actually found. And if you haven't read the book, fascinating book. It's called Pirate Hunters by Robert Kurson. I'll have a link to it on the show notes, underthecrossbones.com/027. And it's a great book. By the way, throughout this interview, I mispronounce Robert Kurson's last name. I keep pronouncing it Kirsten. I don't know if I had Kirsten Dunst on the brain or what, but John was nice enough to not correct me during the interview. But I figured it out after. So when you hear me pronounce the name wrong in the interview, I know. That was dumb on my part. Anyway, so John Chatterton is on the show today. Now, here's the thing. We talked for a good long time. And I like to keep these episodes under the hour mark if possible. And so I have split the interview into two episodes. Consider this a very special episode of Under the Crossbones, which doesn't mean we're jumping the shark, which that often means when it's a TV show. But no, this interview was just so awesome and had so much good stuff in it that I wanted to split it up a little bit so that your mind is not blown completely. It'll only be blown partially today. But you're going to really, really dig this interview. This is a man who has been to Titanic. He has been to the Andrea Doria like 160 some times. He's found a pirate ship. He's been there with the timbers under the water looking for these things. And it's an absolutely amazing story. And I think you're really, really going to enjoy it. It took me a long time to get him on the show. We kept going back and forth on scheduling and all this kind of stuff. So I'm really, really glad that we finally got him on the show. You guys are going to dig this interview with John Chatterton. So that's coming up. What have you been doing? Have you been doing something piratey? Have you been going to festivals? Have you been going to pirate museums? What have you been doing? I would like to hear about your adventures while you're on the account. So if you would like to leave me a trip report, whether that's for a festival or a museum visit or something you've been out doing piratey, if you're out doing I don't know, LARPing, cosplay, whatever you want to tell me about, here's what I want you to do. I want you to leave me a trip report. All you have to do is call 408-55... I'm going to go back and just start that phone number again because that didn't make any sense. Here's the phone number, 408-599-2733. You can just leave me a voicemail there, and if it's a cool story, I will play it on the show. I haven't had anybody do it yet, but I know these things they're slow to get started sometimes, so I want to invite you to do that. I want you to be part of this show. All right. So, man, what a weekend, right? You're thinking Super Bowl. I don't care. I'm living here in Super Bowl land. I live in San Jose, Santa Clara area where the Super Bowl was this past weekend, and I really could care less about football. It's just not my thing. And but we were surrounded by it. I followed the game online while it was happening. I saw a score 24-10. Denver, yay, good for you. I know Coldplay was terrible. Beyonce was Beyonce, and Bruno Mars stole the show. I did not need to watch any of it. I just watched Twitter while I was doing other things. I think I was on Reddit while it was happening. Yeah, so that's done now, and now we can go back to normal life. What was cool over the weekend, though, was on Saturday night, Metallica did a special show at AT&T Park in San Francisco, which they titled, and I thought this was great, they titled it Too Heavy for Halftime, because a lot of us around here especially thought that they should have been the band at halftime. God knows it would have been better than Coldplay. But they streamed the whole Metallica concert online on their website on Saturday night. So since I didn't have a gig, because I was not going to certainly try and play a show around here in the middle of Super Bowl madness, I was home Saturday night and I got to watch the entire Metallica concert on the YouTube, on the web, and that was the highlight of my weekend. It really was, because I was super bummed that I was also missing Black Sabbath on Sunday night, who were also in town at the same time as the Super Bowl. Part of me just wanted them to come out at halftime and go, no, we were just kidding. Coldplay's terrible. Here's Metallica with a special guest set by Black Sabbath. Would that have not been way super better? It would have been way better, I think. But anyway, that's why they don't let me book the Super Bowl, I guess. So now Super Bowl's over. We can go back to normal life. It's Chinese New Year's, right? We did that this weekend too. I don't know if I've told you before. I am part of a Chinese family. My girlfriend is from Singapore, and so we did Chinese New Year dinner on Saturday night to deal with scheduling with her family and all that kind of stuff. And we had a very traditional Chinese New Year dinner at Black Angus. Right. Yeah, that was my thought too. I was like, all right, I'm not a huge fan of Chinese food, but I'm like, all right, Chinese New Year, let's go have Chinese food. And they were like, no, we have a coupon for Black Angus. And I was like, well, all right. But I guess their reasoning was that on Chinese New Year, okay, so like Valentine's Day is coming up, right? So all the nice restaurants are going to jack up their prices like crazy for Valentine's Day. Well, Chinese places do that on Chinese New Year. They just jack up all the prices like crazy. So instead, we avoided that whole thing and we took a coupon to Black Angus, and I had a steak. And there was, I got to tell you this story. And this is not, I don't know if I was going to tell this story necessarily, but here's what happened. We were sitting at a long table. There was, 10 or 12 of us there. And across at one of the booths was a Middle Eastern man. And I'm very liberal. I come from California. I watch my white privilege. I do all that kind of stuff. This dude looked crazy. And I was like, he was talking to himself and he was all crazy eyed and things like that. And I was like, okay, my brain is immediately becoming racist. And I'm thinking over my steak. I'm thinking this to myself over my steak and baked potato. I'm thinking my brain is becoming racist because that Middle Eastern man looks crazy. And I am watching him to see if he pulls a bomb out of his pocket or a gun or something like that. And we were watching my girlfriend and I were watching because we happened to be sitting next to each other. And we're like, that dude looks crazy. And I thought, if this dude were a white guy, would I be as worried about this? Because I've seen lots of crazy white people. I've worked in areas of town where there are plenty of crazy white people. And I was like, I'd still be watching the dude. But I knew there was a racist element in my brain to what was happening here because I'm watching this guy wondering if he's going to pull out a bomb or a gun because he's not only crazy, but he's also Middle Eastern. And I realized the wrongness of that thought. But I also decided that I was going to allow myself at that point to be a little bit racist because if he did pull something out, then I would be in the right. Like I was right to watch that guy. And I was concerned about, we were there with family. And it's like, I was like, I don't know. Maybe this guy's got a thing. And it turned out, no, he just had a hamburger and talked to himself for quite a while. Legitimately crazy. Like the dude's meds were off somewhere. But I gave myself that permission, and it's not something I'm proud of. But I think in that instance, it was good of me to put that thought in my head. Not good, but it was responsible of me to put that thought in my head and watch that guy a little more closely than I might have watched somebody else. Fortunately, nothing happened. He talked to himself a lot, and he ate his hamburger, and then he sat there looking crazy and wobbling his head around, and then he left. And my girlfriend said, what if it's a remote detonation? That's what she said. So we were both on the same page. Like I said, not proud of it, but see something, say something. That's what they say. That is what they say. So the other thing that happened this week is I put out a new single. Yes, I have a new song out. It's called "The Legend of Ms. Garcia," and it is about the high school Spanish teacher. The Spanish teacher for my high school, and this particular legend that the hormone-addled boys of my high school had about her. It's a fun song. It's a funny song. And here's the thing. I want you to have it. And I know we got a lot of new listeners, and I know that I don't talk about or play my music and stuff on the show all that much because I play my friends. But here's what I would like to do for you, because you are a loyal Under the Crossbones listener. I would like to give it to you for nearly free. All right. So here's all you have to do. The song, it's just a single. It's usually $1. I am going to give it to you for 95% off. Mostly because I was going to give it to you for 100% off, but there was no way in the system for me to make a 100% off coupon. So it's 95% off. That means you can get this new song for me for $0.05. Now, are you going to be all like, $0.05? Psh, that is way too much for a song. No, of course not. It's $0.05. So that's not that bad. So here's what you do. All right. I want you to go to underthecrossbones.com/Garcia. Garcia, Garcia, if you're super white and don't know how Garcia is spelled. And right there, you will see a list of all my releases and stuff. Click on the one that says The Legend of Miss Garcia. And when you check out, use the promo code Crossbones, and you will get that song for 5 cents. All right? And that 5 cents probably will go straight to Bandcamp, and I won't see any of it anyway. So you're essentially getting it for free, or I'm giving it to you for free. I just don't see the nickel. Anyway, that's what I want you to do. Go to underthecrossbones.com/Garcia. Use the promo code Crossbones, and you can get The Legend of Miss Garcia for 95% off, all of 5 cents. And that promo code is good until the end of February. So if you're listening in March, I'm sorry, kick down $1 for my song, I guess. All right, shows coming up this week. The 11th, February the 11th, which is the Thursday, I'll be at the Downtown Theater in Fairfield, California. Friday the 12th, I'll be at Queen Bean in Modesto, California, and that is a benefit event for the Central Valley Walk Now for Autism Speaks. Great charity there. On Saturday the 13th, I will be at the Mad Cow in Murphys, California. All of those are headlining shows. And then the 18th through the 27th, I will be around the Edmonton, Canada area, doing lots of shows. I know I'll be at the Comedy Factory. I know I have a casino thing. I know I'm playing in Leduc. I don't know all the details because they've not been given to me yet. I'm going to show up and tell jokes where they tell me to tell jokes. But if you are in the Edmonton area, or if you have friends up there, let them know I'm coming, and that's going to be good. Next month, I'll be in California. I'll be in Illinois. I'll be in Iowa. I will be in Vancouver, Canada. Lots of good dates. Just go to underthecrossbones.com and click on the tour dates button, and you can find out everywhere that I am going to be. All right. We're going to dig in and get to this John Chatterton interview. You guys are super going to dig it. I hope you do. Here we go. I'm super excited to have you on the show. I discovered you through Robert Kirsten's Pirate Hunters book, which I found fascinating. He's a great writer. And the good thing about that is that I have a memory like a goldfish. So I've already forgotten most of the details. So it'll all be new again. So when when people ask you what you do, what do you tell them?
I struggle with that, and I'm come down to saying I'm a professional diver.
Okay.
I guess that's certainly not a lie, but it is, I feel like the guy who is still trying to figure out what he's going to do when he grows up.
And you've already done such amazing things. Let's obviously the book is about your quest to find the Golden Fleece, and we'll talk about that. But take me back a little bit. How did you get into diving in general as a kid, or?
Well, as a kid, I grew up at the beach, and I was snorkeling and spearfishing and surfing and all that kind of stuff. I went into the military. I got out of the military. I kind of took a few different jobs. I worked in construction. I was a commercial scallop fisherman. I worked as a respiratory therapist, and was an in-house educator for a respiratory therapy department. And, but, I really hadn't figured out what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
And quite literally in the middle of the night, I woke up and I had an epiphany.
Okay.
And I was going to be a commercial diver.
Huh.
And of course, I had no idea what a commercial diver did, but it was one of those things. I was actually enrolled in computer programmer school, and I just, I knew I knew there was something I wanted to do, but so far I hadn't done it.
Uh-huh.
And I started working as a commercial diver, and I absolutely loved it. When I was a kid playing Little League, I sucked at it. And I was just terrible at baseball. And, I'd be out in the left field and I'd go, God, I just hope they don't hit it to me.
Uh-huh. I know the feeling.
And with commercial diving, it was, give me a chance, give me the ball.
Uh-huh.
I can do it. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll make it happen. And so that kind of excitement and passion and attitude made, for me, commercial diving a tremendous amount of fun. And that was my, not literally, but that was essentially my 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job.
So commercial diving in the form that you originally did that is, so you're working on the bottoms of bridges and things like that?
I worked on bridges. I worked on pipelines. I worked on water outfalls.
Uh-huh.
I worked in nuclear power plants. I worked in industrial plants. I worked wherever the jobs were, piers, pilings, excavations, salvage work.
Okay.
And, that was part of the excitement. You never knew what the next job was going to be. You never knew what was around the corner.
Sure. I understand that sentiment completely. Yeah, that's great.
And but, really, commercial diving was never like 50 weeks a year with 2 weeks vacation. You kind of go from job to job. So there were times where you were really busy, and there were times where you had a lot of off time.
Uh-huh.
I started in my off time recreational diving.
Okay.
And, I'd been a recreational diver, but, I started to pursue it more seriously, deeper dives. I started into rec diving. And I was incredibly fortunate to fall in with a group of guys that were some pretty serious wreck divers.
Uh-huh.
And my best friend and my mentor was Captain Bill Nagel, who was the captain on the dive boat Seeker. And so, for me, as much as I loved my job, my passion became wreck diving.
Uh-huh.
And so for me, although I absolutely loved working during the week and, I made good money, I was doing well. The thing that really I was most excited about was diving shipwrecks on the weekend. And of course, I lived in New Jersey, so, we weren't diving through the winter. So I'd research shipwrecks in the winter time. I'd work on dive gear in the winter time. I'd plan dives in the winter time. And then in the late spring, early fall, and the summer, I'd hit it hard. And Bill Nagel used to take the Seeker out to the Andrea Doria.
Uh-huh.
I became crew on the boat. I had the opportunity to get a lot of diving in on the Andrea Doria. In many ways, I think I kind of grew up as a diver on the Andrea Doria. It is a matter of me kind of being in the right place at the right time with the right people, and everything just kind of fell into place. And you can't. The thing about shipwreck diving is that there's all these different facets to it. It's like a you look at it one way and it's one thing. You look at it another way and it's something else. And there are all these different elements that add to it, and different ways to look at it. There's the diving side of things, diving technology. scuba, technical diving, trimix, rebreathers, hard hat. There's all the submersibles.
Sure.
There's all these. How do you make the technology work for whatever it is you want to do? But at the same point, that the adage in commercial diving was, don't do anything in the water that you can do topside. So my diving perspective was, well, before I put my suit on, I want to be totally prepared.
Right.
So then there's the historical research side of things.
Uh-huh.
And when you start getting into historical research to learn about the wreck, then it's like you start saying, well, what about the wrecks that haven't been found?
Sure.
And when you can work on things from the historical side, it starts to get really interesting, because every wreck is unique.
Uh-huh.
It's different, just the same way that people are different.
Sure.
And so every shipwreck is, if a shipwreck hasn't been found, there's a reason that it hasn't been found. If it's people who've gone looking for it and they haven't been able to find it, typically speaking, they're not looking at it correctly.
Uh-huh.
There's either something they're misinterpreting, there's a piece to the puzzle that they don't have, and so it's like a mystery.
Sure, yeah.
And how do I go about solving this mystery? And so when I look at diving, there's the physical side, there's the emotional side, there's the intellectual side, there's all these different things going on.
Uh-huh.
And the challenges are whatever you want them to be. It's, if you say, I want to go find this wreck, I want to go dive Titanic. Okay, well, how am I going to make that happen?
Uh-huh.
And so, you have all of these opportunities to challenge yourself. And certainly when, by the time I got to the Dominican Republic with John Matera, quite literally, I'd spent most of my wreck diving career on big steel wrecks.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden now this new door, this whole new area of colonial period shipwrecks.
Uh-huh.
Histories that were much older, and wrecks that were much more subtle in appearance.
Sure.
on the seabed. So for me, it was it was just another irresistible challenge in diving.
I have a question about some of that stuff. If and this may sound like a stupid question, but it's because I really don't know anything about these things. How much of going out to search for a wreck is, we've heard a story, we're going to go try and find this wreck, versus we've stumbled across a wreck and we have no idea what it is?
It's less likely to. Rob Curson wrote the book Shadow Divers.
Uh-huh.
And Shadow Divers was about a World War II German U-boat that literally we did stumble across.
Oh, okay.
But Bill Nagel traded Loran numbers with a fishing boat captain.
Uh-huh.
The fishing boat captain wanted a set of inshore numbers. He was willing to trade Bill some numbers for a wreck offshore that he had no idea what it was. He's just a fishing guy.
Huh.
And so we were like, hey, we have something to dive. We got no idea what it is. It could be a big rock.
Okay.
It could be nothing. So sometimes it does go down that road, but and then you have to kind of reverse engineer all of that. It's like, okay, well let's let's take information from the wreck and we'll try and match it to the historical record, as opposed to taking the historical record and then going out and trying to find the shipwreck. But either way, you take what you get, and it's good. It's good either way. There is no guarantee of success, and certainly some wrecks are far more resistant to discovery than others. But there is no guarantee that you're going to find a wreck.
Sure.
And if you're looking at a wreck where the people have been looking for, there's already a well-respected history of failure associated with finding the wreck. But those are the kind of things where you're like, okay, what is everybody else doing wrong? Where have these guys gone wrong? And certainly when we were looking for the Golden Fleece down in the Dominican Republic, from the very beginning, I felt the location was bad. Where are you going to look for the Golden Fleece? Well, it's out by Pirate Island. Pirate Island. In the 1700s, the French called it Pirate Island. They called it Bannister Island.
Yep.
Well, where's the wreck? Well, where's it going to be? Bannister Island. That's where everybody looks. But you know what? From the very beginning, I was like, what little history I knew, I had this tremendous respect for Joseph Bannister. And here's a guy, he is intelligent, he is skilled, he is a born leader. The pirate ships were literally the first real democracies.
Sure, yeah.
You had escaped slaves, criminals, victims of shipwreck, guys wanted by the authorities, and nobody really talked to their guidance counselor and said, I'm thinking of a career in piracy. It was, typically speaking, it was like a last resort kind of thing. And it's like, I may be going down, but it's going to be in a big ball of flame.
Right.
and two Royal Navy frigates come out there to take these guys in. Well, first of all, Bannister was brought into Jamaica and tried as a pirate. He originally came to Jamaica and he tried to get a license as a privateer, and the British wouldn't give him one.
Right.
Then they're saying, well, he's working with the French, and we don't like this guy. He's obviously a pirate. They bring him into Jamaica, and he's tried by a jury of his peers. Well, Jamaica was full of pirates, so it's like a jury of his peers went, well, I'm not guilty. Well, the governor of Jamaica is furious. The Royal Navy is furious. They're like, you know what? Just take this guy and hang him. What does he do? He goes out the back door, steals his own ship back, and heads back out to sea with his crew. And the authorities in Jamaica were beyond angry.
Sure. Yes.
This guy had embarrassed them. So it's like, now this is about vengeance now. They want to track this guy down. They want to bring this guy in. They're going to hang this guy. And you know what? So the Royal Navy, two Royal Navy frigates, they show up. We're the Royal Navy. You pirates surrender now. And the pirates are like, I don't think so. No. But 2 days they battled the pirates. Now, they had to careen the ship. In other words, they had to clean the hull. A clean hull equaled speed.
Sure.
So it wasn't just like we're going to make a nice tidy vessel here. It's about, if we're pirates, we have to be fast. So careening the hull, and the way you did that was you pull it up on a soft bottom someplace, and on the high tide, and when the tide went out, you get down there and you clean the hull, and on the next high tide, you roll it over onto the other side, and you get the other side, and but it was about speed. So
Sure.
they're careening their hull, but before they careen the hull, Bannister sets up a couple of shore batteries on the island. So the British show up, and they're like, "Oh, they're careening the boat. This is perfect.
Uh-huh.
We've caught them with their pants down." No, the 2-day naval battle ensues until literally the Royal Navy runs out of shot and powder, and they're forced to retreat.
Uh-huh.
Never in the history of the Royal Navy, pirates fighting the Royal Navy to a standstill, where the Navy has to retreat. No, not unacceptable. Both captains were censured. And they're like, no, we want this guy. So, you have all this historical background, and you had this picture of this guy in your head,
uh-huh.
and it's like, this is not a guy who this is not a guy who's going to do something stupid. This isn't a guy who's going to make that, an average choice or a below average choice. This guy's going to make the smartest choice possible.
Uh-huh.
Well, and we're all looking at, I'm looking at Pirate Island, and I'm like, no, I don't get it. I don't see where a smart, capable guy would bring his ship in and careen it.
Uh-huh.
We know he made shore batteries, because from the British records, this is a brilliant tactician.
Mm-hmm. I'm
looking where everybody says this is where the battle took place,
right?
And I'm like, why? Why would this is an indefensible position? And of course, then everybody and their brother is going out there looking for this wreck.
Uh-huh.
They haven't found it, and it's like, this is not the place, And it's like, well, the French were here, and it's described in the ship's log of William Phipps's boat when he came in here just a couple of months after the battle, and it's like,
uh-huh.
It's like, it doesn't matter,
right?
So, that is exactly why I love. I love shipwrecks. I love diamond. I love trying to find wrecks. I love trying to figure them out, figure out the mystery, figure out what happened, where they are,
sure.
all of it. And typically speaking, if you find a wreck that people have tried to find, and failed, it's an opportunity to do a little bit of a historical rewrite.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. One of the things I thought was really interesting about that particular one was that it seemed like the turning point, at least the way it was written in the book, was on land rather than in the sea. You found the batteries and the cannonballs first, and that kind of led you to where the ship was.
Yeah, well, it's one of those ones, and it's a forehead slapper. It's like, oh, of course. Quite literally, we were living in the villa,
uh-huh,
overlooking the site of the battle, and we were traveling 4 or 5 miles, whatever it was, out to Cayo Levantado to look for the wreck, and like, literally, it was like right in front of us the whole time. But the land search, the discovery of the cannibals was the thing that precipitated that was us looking differently at the historical record,
uh-huh,
and trying to and saying, what, history is wrong.
right?
Napoleon was wrong. The Dominicans are wrong. The Spanish were wrong. History is something different than the way it's been recorded.
That must be exciting to be able to literally change history like that and be right.
Well, you know what? It is. It's also painful because you start out like really, going through the historical record and you start out believing everything.
Uh-huh.
And then little by little, it's like, something's wrong, but it's like, what do you keep and what do you throw away?
Sure.
What do you say? What do you say? I'm going to buy into this. This doesn't make any sense at all. And of course, when we were working on the U-boat off of New Jersey,
uh-huh.
Where we're starting with Iraq and trying to work back through the historical record. It was even more frustrating because you're trying to find the thing that's just not there.
Right.
When you have, you're trying to figure out where do I look for this shipwreck. You can be wrong a bunch of times, and when you're right, you got the wreck.
Right. What was different? You said you had previously mostly worked on steel ships, and this was different because it was colonial, it was wooden. What were some of the sort of technically differences between trying to find a steel ship and a wooden ship?
Number one, big steel wrecks. The Andrea Doria, the Lusitania,
uh-huh.
the Titanic, Britannic. Ships like that, big steel wrecks, when you find the wreck, they're relatively speaking intact.
Uh-huh.
In other words, you have a bow, you have a stern. If I found a wreck from World War I called the Carolina, it was a steamship sunk in World War I off the coast of Atlantic City by a German U-boat.
Sure, yeah.
And I ended up recovering, going to court and getting the salvage rights to the wreck and salvaging the purser safe from first class. But it's like, you're kind of, you're looking at the wreck and everything's kind of there.
Uh-huh.
When you're dealing with colonial period wrecks, in many cases, it's going to be under coral, it's going to be under sand, it's going to be, it's not a visual entity that you can look at. So
okay.
you have to kind of excavate. You have to, before you can visually process the information, you have to get down. And sometimes I've gone after wrecks that were, there's very, very little of the wooden structure left, and you're looking at ballast stones,
uh-huh.
and it's like, okay, well, is this everything? How did these ballast stones end up here? In other words, did the ship roll? Did the ship come to rest and sink? So, visually, when you see a big steel wreck, you end up knowing instantly a lot more than you do on a older wreck, a colonial period wreck, where you're not sure whatever you find. It's only one piece of a bigger puzzle.
And I'm going to interrupt it right there, my friends. That is the first half of my interview with John Chatterton. Super interesting so far, right? You're going to want to make sure to tune in next week, because next week, that's when we get to Titanic and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. And he told me some mind-blowing stuff about Titanic, just things I've never heard before, and I think you're going to really find it interesting. So make sure you tune in next week for the second half of this interview with John Chatterton. If you're digging the show, and I hope you're digging the show, here's what you can do. We can use some support to keep the show going. So what you can do, if you go to underthecrossbones.com/support, or if you just click the like this show link at the top of the page, there's a couple things that you can do to help out. One of them is just a regular old cash donation. There's a PayPal box. Put in whatever you want in that box, send it on over to me, straight up, all done, easy deal. The other thing you can do is there's an Amazon banner on that page. If you click on that little Amazon banner and you make a purchase, I get a little commission on that. And so that's very helpful. It doesn't change the price of anything you pay. It is absolutely zero effort on your part if you're just going over there to buy stuff for yourself anyway. So click that Amazon banner. Also, any of the other book or music links in the show notes, things like that, those are helpful too. If you want to be a sponsor of this show, it is super, super stupid cheap to become a sponsor of this show, just like Southern Yellow Pine Publishing and SR Staley. If you want to do that, just contact me. I'll get you the rates. We'll get you all set up. I'll show you how it works. If you've got a business that you think my audience would like to hear about, let's do that. Sponsor the show. And that is all at underthecrossbones.com/support. So you can find more about John Chatterton at johnchatterton.com. And John, John, Chatterton is ChatterTon.com, johnchatterton.com. And of course, the link will be on the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/027. Like I said, next week is going to be super good. I'll also have a link to the book Pirate Hunters by Robert Kurson with no T in it. I know now because I was an idiot during the interview. I understand. And also, we have another sponsor this week, and that is the people that protect you from the modern pirates. The modern pirates have no fashion sense. They do not wear fancy hats and scarves and swords and things like that. No, they sit behind a computer and they eat Cheese Whiz. Maybe. I don't know. Cheese Whiz? Cheetos? They eat bad things and they steal your information and they put it up on the internet. All right. And that's a bad thing. So what you have to do is you go get yourself a membership with LifeLock. All right. Which is as little as like $10 a month, $9 a month, something like that. It's super cheap. And LifeLock goes out there and they make sure that your information is not hanging around on the dark, ugly parts of the internet where anybody can take it and steal it and all that kind of stuff. Plus, if it does happen, they will help you fix it, which is what you're like the free credit, what do they call it? Free credit protection thing on your credit card, things like they don't help you if something actually happens. They'll let you know, but they don't help you. LifeLock will help you fix it, and they've got guarantees and all that kind of stuff. So go check out LifeLock, and you can get 10% off your membership. Go to underthecrossbones.com/LifeLock and click Start Your Membership, and you will get 10% off your LifeLock membership. It's important. Do that. I got a free ebook for you. It is the Alexander Exquemelin's Pirate of Panther Bay, 2 weeks. Pirate of Panther Bay. That's SR Staley. I got that on the brain. Alexander Exquemelin's Pirates of Panama, or the Buccaneers of America. It's under both names. It's a seminal book in pirate history that you really should check out if you're into the pirate stuff. And you can do that one of two ways. Go to underthecrossbones.com and click free ebook, or if you're out and about and all you got your phone, text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. All right, text pirate and your email address to 94253, and I will hit you with the link to download that free ebook. Also good. So we got some comedy, we got some music on the show today. First up, we are going to hear from Steve McGowan, who is a comic from Vancouver, Canada, and he is going to tell us about taking his nephew to Chuck E. Cheese. It's very funny. You're going to dig it. And then today we've got a song called Misled from a band called The Cautious. And that is a band from right here where I am in San Jose, California. And even right here, the bass player is my cousin Blake. And so they're a cool, young, new band out of San Jose here called The Cautious. And I'm going to spin you their song called Misled. It's nepotism. Yep, it sure is. All right, here we go.
But he told me to take my nephew to Chuck E. Cheese for the first time. And I didn't even know Chuck E. Cheese was even still around. I got scared, man. I was like, are you serious? Chuck E. Cheese? You mean Thunderdome that Mom used to take us to? If you remember Chuck E. Cheese back in the day, I was scared of Chuck E. Cheese. There was nothing good about Chuck E. Cheese. There's nothing good about it. So when I took my nephew there, okay, I'll take him there. I dressed him up in like goalie hockey gear, just like he said. Because from what I remember from Chuck E. Cheese in the 80s, and a lot of you will, some of you won't, Chuck E. Cheese now is different than what it was in the 80s. It's so different. Now, it's well lit. Because back in the 80s, it was just cigarette smoke from all the parents. You're like, Mom, where are you? What'd you get from Chuck E. Cheese? Asthma. Like, no. The bathroom's different at Chuck E. Cheese, too. Yeah. Yeah, it's not the ball pit anymore. We learned that the hard way. In the 80s, right? It is, you're in the ball pit. It's kind of like a pool. There's always that one kid that had pudding on his face, but it wasn't pudding. Mom, can I have some pudding? We have to go! But what really blew me away about Chuck E. Cheese now compared to the 80s was the amount of games they have. The amount of games they have, it's all well lit, it's all noises everywhere. There's kids going crazy, or they have it's like a little casino for kids is what it is now. It is, right? You get a little voucher. We never had vouchers. You get a little voucher, they get the coins and they get the voucher, and then like Vegas, you gotta stand in line, punch it in, they get a little thing, and there's stressed out Asian babies in the corner. It's all crazy. But what really blew me away was the amount of games that they had at Chuck E. Cheese. I counted over 155 games. 155 games at Chuck E. Cheese. That blew me away because we only had 2 games at Chuck E. Cheese in the 80s. What were the games? We had Whack-A-Mole, right? Remember that one? And what's that other one? Don't Get Kidnapped. If you made it home with your own family, you won.
I wanna be found with you. From the way that you're acting, this won't be prolonged. Your cards are shifted out of order. If I can play them right, we can still go on. Mislead me, mistreat me, 'cause your arms are a blessing and a curse. My imagination makes me think for better or for worse.
And that's our show for today, friends. Be sure to stay tuned next week for the second half of the John Chatterton interview. We go deep into Titanic, mind-blowing stuff, really, really cool. Make sure that you're subscribed through iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you prefer, and that episode will be automatically downloaded to your device. You can find out more about John Chatterton at johnchatterton.com. If you want to hear more from Steve McGowan, you can find him on Facebook. It's facebook.com/steve.mcgowan.56. Yeah, there's a link on the show notes. Go get it there. If you want to hear more from The Cautious, they have 2 singles out already. Go to thecautiousband.bandcamp.com. Also a link on the show notes for that. If you haven't left an iTunes review for Under the Crossbones yet, go do that. It only takes a few seconds, and it really, really helps out the show. You can find all the show notes for this episode at underthecrossbones.com/027. And I will see you next week with the second half of John Chatterton. Until then.